Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide, another episode of the Guides Network, and I got one of my favorite guests. He's been on here several times. Been a while though. We're glad to have him back, Mr. Heath Taylor from Smash Tech Custom Mates. How are you doing, sir?
A little chilly, but other than that, good.
It is chilly, man. First of all, thank you for coming on. Thanks for lending your knowledge to us. We really appreciate that. I know all the viewers do as well. It is chilly. Cold front. You can tell by our attire. I feel like the daggum, what's that, the tire guy?
Or the Michelin Man?
The Michelin Man. I feel like the Michelin Man, you know? Out here I got so many layers of clothes on. I mean, I'm fat, but I ain't this fat, you know what I'm saying? When that happens, when it starts getting that kind of cold, we had our first morning below freezing this morning of the year, and when that happens, that only means one thing, guys. It means fall. There's water temps are dropping, fall fishing's happening, the fish are going to get gathered up. They may not bite the first day after the front, but in general during the fall period, fish will really get grouped up and really go to feeding on bait fish. They get really focused on bait fish. And when you're talking about imitating a bait fish, there's not much a more versatile or a much better imitation on planet Earth than a swim bait. So today, the best swim bait guy I know is going to tell you everything he knows about how to catch fish on swim baits in the fall.
When you start getting the first series of cold fronts, which, you know, this is really probably the first severe cold front we've had this year, what it's going to do, it's going to start taking the water temperature. It's already been gradually slowing down, but in the fall, when you get those first good cold fronts, it knocks that temperature down 5 to 10 degrees sometimes. Now, that doesn't make the fish get inactive, because, you know, the water's still going to be, you know, even in the cold water lakes, you're still talking, you know, 60 degrees and up water temperature, you know, and they're plenty active, and they're going to eat a swim bait when it gets that cool, because, you know, they've been used to the hot weather all summer. But when they feel that water temperature get cool, it's like a dinner bell going off. You know, they know they need to eat a lot when before winter comes. So what they'll do is they'll follow the shad in the creeks and hang out around the grass. When he was talking about the difference in a weedless swim bait and, say, a line through swim bait like we throw a lot in the spring, the reason you're throwing a weedless swim bait a lot in the fall is when I'm throwing a swim bait in the fall, I'm looking for grass, you know, some sort of vegetation to throw it in or around, because that's a lot of times those fish will push back in the pockets where the grass is. So the way I usually approach fall swim baiting is I will start big, and then if I'm not getting bit on a big swim bait, I'll start with something like a bigger 6-inch hollow body, you know, the 5-inch weedless poacher, or, you know, I haven't even released this one yet, but I've already caught some fish on it this fall. A 6-inch weedless gizzard shad, which is between our 7-inch and the 5-inch size. I think this is probably going to be my favorite size whenever I finally get it released.
Well, he's already made our first fall appearance on the channel. It was his little brother, but yeah. Gary.
Yeah, this little guy has already caught some this fall. So I will usually start with something bigger, because I like throwing a bigger swim bait. You're going to get a bigger bite, and then let the fish tell me if they're not, you know, if I'm getting some short strikes on the big swim bait or they're just not biting it. There are times in the fall that you will have to downsize and go to the smaller hollow body or even the little poacher. And you can rig both of these on a belly weighted swim bait hook. I put them on the 4-aught owner B swim bait hook. I know Billy likes to throw them on the flashy swimmer. You can do either one. Seems like to me, when the water's really clear, I'll go without the flashy swimmer. I have more confidence if the water's dirty, maybe going to that flashy swimmer. But even throwing in dirty water, I don't have a problem throwing this without the blade.
Question: does, you know, because in the fall, a lot of times the bait fish will get really shallow where you can actually visibly see the bait fish.
Mm-hmm.
If you're seeing bait fish of a certain size, do you try to match that size? Will that make you change from big to small or vice versa?
If I'm seeing, say I'm in the back of a pocket and I see you'll see those bait fish start flipping, and you see bass start busting on them. Especially if I see that they're chasing, shad that are 2 to 3 inches long, then yeah, it will make me go a lot quicker to something like this instead of keep throwing this. Now I'll kind of sometimes do a reverse of what I was talking about earlier. If I'm in a place and I've caught, say I switch to a smaller swim bait, and all of a sudden I'm catching multiple fish. I get into a good group of fish, and I'm catching, I've caught 7 or 8 fish out of one stretch of grass. Well, I'll turn around, pick this back up, and make another pass down it to see if I can't pick up a bigger fish, because maybe I wasn't throwing this bait when I encountered that school of fish. You can always turn around and go back through with another bait, another profile, another size, and sometimes pick off a bigger fish. I did this on another lake back, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Same deal. Went through with one type of swim bait. Actually was throwing a weedless poacher. Caught 3 or 4 fish out of one patch of grass. Gave it a rest. Turned around, came back in with a hollow body. Ended up catching the biggest fish of the day by just showing them a different look, a different profile. So the advantages, like I said, are obvious to weedless. You can throw them anywhere. You can throw them up in the thickest grass. And what you want to do, what I want to do a lot of times, sometimes they'll be up pushing right on the surface, but most of the time when I'm fishing this or any of these, depending on how high your grass comes up, you want to be able to just tick the top of that grass. Because what'll happen, especially after a cold front, say it's really tough the day after a cold front like it is today, bluebird, high winds, the fish sometimes aren't going to chase stuff up high in the water column. Sometimes you need to slow it down and just let it tick the top of that grass, and you can do that with a swim bait that's rigged weedless a whole lot easier than you can, say, a line through. So you can just sit there and just, like, especially this hollow body, you're going to feel it thumping in your rod tip. You want to reel it just fast enough to where you're feeling that bait thump and just ticking the top of that grass, and they'll come up out, when they're buried up in the grass after a cold front, they'll come up out of those clumps of grass and sometimes blow up on it. So I will transition sometimes, later in the fall, when sometimes the grass will kind of cut back a little bit and you'll get harder defined edges. And sometimes it will, if you've got matted grass that's growing to the surface, and sometimes it goes down, or if you have a lot of rain and the water comes up and you've got, say, 3 or 4 feet between the grass and the surface, now that's a good time you can throw a line through, because you can get away with it a little bit easier with that treble hook hanging down there. And and surprisingly, a line through swim bait with a treble hook on it will actually tick the top of the grass better than what you really think it would. As far as the gear that you want to throw swim baits on, you can get away with these smaller ones, the hollow body and the little poacher. I can get away with, a lot of times I'll throw, depending on the cover, I'll throw 14 to 16 pound line, usually a medium heavy 7.3, and these smaller ones, it's just a steady retrieve 99% of the time. There's times where you can stop and pause it and stuff like that, but you just throw it out there, a slow, steady retrieve. Now when you step up to some of these bigger baits, that weigh a little more, like the weedless poacher, the 6-inch gizzard shad, and even going up to the 7-inch gizzard shad or the convict, these bigger swim baits, I'll usually step up to 20 pound fluorocarbon. I will very rarely fish braid unless I'm fishing, say, pad stems. Then braid's a must. You can't throw anything else other than braid successfully in pad stems.
Hyacinth mats too.
Yeah, around
hyacinth mats,
yeah,
fishing the edges, I'll throw
around hyacinths and stuff like that. But if I'm just fishing over grass, the way I normally fish, it's going to be fluorocarbon. Just had a lot of feel, less stretch than mono. Now, as far as a rod for these bigger baits, a lot of times I'll throw like a 7.9 swim bait rod. I throw one made by Dobbins. I know a lot of other companies make swim bait specific rods. Whichever one you're comfortable with. Now on the reel, me and Billy completely agree on the reels for bigger swim baits. For anything this size and above, the Lew's Super Duty wide spool is absolutely the reel to throw one on. So that's what I throw one in all the time. Like I said, I absolutely love this reel for anything from, you know, a 5.5 to 6 inch swim bait all the way up to, you know, 8 or 9 inch big heavy swim baits. Like I said, it's full with 20-pound fluorocarbons. Right now I've got actually a line through 6 inch gizzard shad rigged on it. And I'll throw A-rigs, you know, which it's going to get to A-rig season pretty soon. You know, Alabama rigs, awesome reels for that too. They hold a lot of line because when you're throwing these bigger swim baits, you're lobbing them way out there, and they cast a mile. And they have the big handles. That's another thing I like about them, because you can just sit there and slow down. I don't like the real fast retrieve reels when I'm throwing a swim bait. I'll keep it a 6.4. I don't like the slow 5s, and I don't like the real fast 7s. I like a 6. You know, I think this one's is a 6.3 or 6.4. Yeah, 6.4 to 1, and just a steady retrieve, just like this. Because I feel like if you get the fast one, a lot of times you'll move that bait way too quick when you're even when you're trying to slow down. But then if you try to go to the 5 to 1 thinking you're going to slow yourself down and fish the bait better, a lot of times when they hit a swim bait, they're going to come at you, and you're not going to be able to catch up to them with that 5 to 1. So usually I'm using a 6.4 to 1 and that loose Super Duty. One of the little tricks that I started doing a long time ago, and this goes for the little poacher and for the 4.5 inch hollow body. You know, Billy calls it Little Holly. Like I said, I throw the.
I name all your swim baits.
I throw the 4/0 owner beast hook, but the way it comes, and it's a good hook, but the way it comes with, and I don't have any laying right here close that are stock, but it comes with a little tiny screw lock, and real small. Which if you're fishing a smash tail or a smash tail junior is fine, because they're a real skinny bait. But if you're fishing something that has a fatter nose like this, or the hollow body, you're going to get a lot more fish per bait if you switch to the large size center pin spring. Like I said, if you can see that, this is the larger size. It comes with a little bitty one. So always swap out. As soon as I get them, I take them out of the pack, and I actually, you can buy packs of the screw locks by themselves, the center pins. Just buy a pack of large, replace all the ones, and the 4/0's the only ones that I have to really replace. The rest of them come with the bigger ones, the 6, the 8s, and the 10s. They come with the bigger ones, and you can run them stock just fine. But you're going to get a lot more fish per bait, because this screw lock will take and basically cover the whole nose of, say, the hollow body and that little poacher, to where you are not hardly ever going to rip that out of there. Plus the head of this hollow body is completely solid. So instead of like some hollow bodies that the nose has just got a little thin piece of plastic, then the rest is hollow, this grabs it a whole lot better. Even with that little small tiny pin, if you don't change it, it won't last as many fish. As far as fishing a swim bait, and this goes from anything from the little hollow body to the little poacher to even the bigger weedless baits. You throw them out there, and I'll let them, depending on how deep the grass is. You know, a lot of times you can fish these pockets, and you'll find them on the bowl on the outside edge of this grass. So I'll throw it down there and just let it sink all the way till it's laying on top of the grass or laying in a hole in the grass. And you just start steady retrieve, just nice and slow. Just fast enough where you can feel that the hollow body I'm throwing right now, you can start feeling it kind of thumping, and you can kind of see the rod tip bouncing a little bit the way that tail kicks. And if you're not feeling grass, sometimes if they want it slower, if you're not feeling the grass, you can just let it drop back down just for a second and start reeling. And, you know, one of the things that's probably one of the most important things to swim bait fishing is when you're retrieving it. You know, a lot of times if you're throwing a spinner bait or a crankbait or a rattle trap, you'll be kind of at an angle while you're retrieving the bait. You don't want to do that with a swim bait. Whether it be a line through, a weedless, you want to point that, and I know y'all heard us talk about it, you want to point that rod right at that bait. It does several things. When you hit that grass, it's going to hit that grass, and without any rod to load up, it's not going to bog down in that grass. It's going to pop right through it, and a lot of times when it pops right through that grass is when you'll get a bite. Now the other things it'll do is when you're reeling it and you're pointing straight at that bait and you have direct contact with your line, you're going to feel your line jump when that fish hits it. Now, don't set the hook. You know, it's hard to do to not get trigger happy and set the hook right when you get that bite. Don't set the hook right when they hit it. You want to just keep reeling until it basically gets tight, and then you rear back and set the hook. Because you will miss a lot of fish on, especially a weedless swim bait. If as soon as you feel them thump it, if you just rear back as soon as you feel that bite and you just jerk, you're going to miss a lot of those fish. But if you just keep it pointed right at them, and you feel that thump, well, sometimes they'll try to take it completely out of your hand. You feel that thump, just keep reeling, and once it loads up, and then rear back. It takes patience and discipline. That's the absolute best way to hook fish, especially on any kind of a weedless swim bait setup.
Well, Heath, man, thank you very much. Appreciate you doing that.
You bet.
Man, that was awesome. That was so great. A lot of great information there. I know the swim baits are a way to catch some really, really big fish. Without a doubt, as far as the shallow fall fishing goes, my biggest bass have always seemed to come on swim baits in the fall. For whatever reason, they really key in on them. I think they're so focused on bait fish, and that's the most lifelike representation that we can offer them, and I think that's why they work so well. So thank you for sharing your knowledge, man. I know you spend so much time throwing them, and you got so much information up there. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hey, leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. Let us know if that's going to help you catch more and bigger fish, because that is certainly our main goal.
That's it.
That's it. If you can't tell, Heath's a real excitable guy.
Well, I need to be fishing instead of talking. So.
He is driving him crazy that there's a grass line behind us and he's not throwing on it right now. So we're going to wrap this up so he can get back to fishing before he starts choking me out. Thank you guys very much for watching as always. Hey, go check out SmashTechBaits.com for the best swim baits on the market, bar none. Hey, if you want to get some hard baits, get some hooks, get some rods, go check out SixCentsFishing.com. When you do go there, be sure you punch in that code, Your Lake Fork Guide. You'll get a 10% discount on all orders. Our way of saying thank you to you guys once again. Thank y'all for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next time right here. Where are they going to see them?
Your Lake Fork Guide.
I don't think anybody heard you, but that's okay.